Alright, so moving on to the final segment, I'll be sharing my thoughts and my summary on the WWE Netflix documentary of Unreal. I'll be sharing my biggest takeaways from the series and how I feel about a documentary sharing all the secrets in the world of professional wrestling of how booking decisions are being made in the modern era of wrestling. So, starting off with episode one, I did like how episode one, how the business works. I do like that. Obviously, there's no off season in the WWE. They work 365 days a week, 7 days a week. It is no off season. Even after their Super Bowl or WrestleMania, you got to turn around to a quick off season that only lasts a few minutes, a few hours. So you got to turn around to basically the Raw after WrestleMania and do it all over again for another season, another 365 days, for another 7 days out of the week. So I really like how they showed the details building up to that January 6th edition of Monday Night Raw. That was one of the most important Raw episodes of all time because that was the debut on Netflix where Raw officially left cable television for the first time in WWE WWF history. So I did like that. Then in episode 2, looking back at that Royal Rumble decision, here we go. I find it natural to believe that everybody, including Triple H, was on board for CM Punk to win the 2025 Royal Rumble. Because, yes, he had the tricep injury in 2024, but if it wasn't for Cody Rhodes finishing his story, the writing was on the wall for CM Punk to win the 2024 Royal Rumble. So, as expected, I do believe that a lot of people believed or wanted Cody Rhodes to win the Royal Rumble in 2025 this year. It's still shocking to me that they did pull the trigger on Jey Uso and launch a rocket on his back and ship them out to the moon. Booking for long term, I don't think, looking back at it, it was the right decision. It was cool at the moment because you had one of the most over superstars doing the yeet and connected with the WWE Universe. Yeah, but to win the Royal Rumble, I think that was a wild decision overall. Based off of how the WrestleMania card played out, night 1, night 2 wasn't as strong and did not live to the hype or the expectations following WrestleMania 40 or WrestleMania 39 with Triple H under control. But I give Michael Hayes a lot of credit for wanting to have Jey Uso go over and win the Royal Rumble and shock the entire WWE Universe. For Mania, it probably would have made sense, to be honest with you guys, to have CM Punk versus Cody Rhodes for the WWE Championship. We'll probably get that next year with Punk winning the Royal Rumble. And you could have had Cena win the Elimination Chamber and then face Gunther for the World Heavyweight Championship at WrestleMania with never ever turning Cena heel during his final run. And plus, you also still could have had Roman Reigns versus Seth Rollins and found a way to fit Jey in the card somehow, some way. But I'll get into how I feel like it was a wrong decision for Jey moving forward, but that was such a ballsy move by the WWE. And seeing the collaborative, basically all in agreement for CM Punk to win the Rumble, but Michael Hayes, as great as he is, wanted Jey Uso to win. That was a shocking moment this year. One of, if not the biggest shock of the year. But in the long run, maybe it wasn't the right decision. That's where my heart and my gut tells me. WrestleMania 3, episode 3 of the documentary. I liked how the women's division was highlighted because women's wrestling is very important. I liked how Chelsea Green was highlighted, her adversity during her WWE journey, being injured in her NXT days being sidelined, her early WWE days being sidelined, then being released by the company only for Triple H to bring her back. And her growth, her growth being back with the company has shown. She is a comedian, a hot commodity with the jokes and being an overall talent that has gotten over with being a comedian act, taking bumps, taking risks, being a great heel. And she became the inaugural, undisputed, first ever women's United States champion in WWE history. I think that was well deserved. I think it was a cool moment for the documentary to highlight women's wrestling. And I also feel like for her to become the first women's world champion, first ever women's United States champion, was very important for the history of WWE believing in stars that they do believe has the potential to be main event caliber stars, male or female. So I thought that was pretty cool. They also touched up on Charlotte Flair's wrestling career, and her returning back from that grueling knee injury that she suffered in 2023 to come back, taking a year off to win the 2025 Royal Rumble was a pretty cool moment. I thought it was actually cool how they sketched up Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill, the former women's tag team champions. Jade Cargill suffering with a real life injury to write her off television, to have this crazy moment of her returning at the Elimination Chamber and beating the hell out of Naomi for being her attacker, to write her off the television for months. So I thought that was good that the way how they came with a collaborative, they all came as a collaborative group and worked well as a team to make that work, because that was one of the best things that the women's division could have used with a storyline outside the world title picture. So I gave the WWE credit, the WWE writers and executives credit for thinking of something outside the box, to have Naomi as a heel, to bring Jade Cargill back in a fired up way, to make her feel like a true threat in the women's division, not being in the shadows of Bianca Belair. Episode 4, I feel like the WWE overbooked the Elimination Chamber. And what I mean by that is, the Elimination Chamber is already supposed to be special in its own right. It's the final stop on the road to WrestleMania. You don't really need to do too much, because the winners of the chamber matches go on to headline and get the final spots to fight for world titles. I felt like they didn't need The Rock or Travis Scott to be in Montreal, Canada for the Elimination Chamber. I felt like they fumbled overall. It was cool to see in real time Cena turn heel like that. But overall, they fumbled one of the biggest wrestling heel turns in the WWE history, because if The Rock wasn't going to be committed to the plans long term, why did The Rock make John Cena basically look like he was selling his soul or become a sellout to chase a 17th world title with an opportunity he just earned moments ago? And why was Travis Scott in the group in the first place? We're really relying on one of the biggest hip hop stars, to really be in this storyline with John Cena full time on his farewell tour. Never really bought in that in the first place. And the story of Cena turning heel, he's not already a full timer during this full time run. So we would have been banking on 3 part timers for this group to work, and John Cena was left alone. You could have added members to the group, maybe a Randy Orton, maybe a Drew McIntyre to this group, but it never materialized, and that's why a lot of people felt like this John Cena heel turn was unnecessary and didn't live up to our hype or our expectations. It was cool to see Cena heel as a heel one more time, but it should have been executed so much better. And if it was executed so much better, it would have probably felt as special, like a Hulk Hogan turning heel to join the NWO. If there was a faction for Cena and there was more to the story than that. Or John Cena not needing Travis Scott out of all people to help him win his 17th world title, making WWE history during his farewell run. So overall, I think the heel turn was a waste of time. If The Rock was never going to be in the long-term plans, why did this heel turn even happen? Good idea that it was pitched out, but if I was John Cena, I would have thought twice about this and honestly would have said no. Because he already had the title shot in his hands before turning heel. So, I think overall that was a waste of time. Now, episode 5, watching the WWE creative going into full detail about WrestleMania, I thought it was pretty cool. It seemed like Jey Uso's main event run on the road to WrestleMania wasn't sinking in well with the WWE executives, including Triple H. And it felt like that they were trying to wake up Jey Uso. Because, as I take a sip of my drink, it seemed like he lost the big picture. Yeah, it was cool to win the Rumble, but just because you win the Rumble doesn't mean you're guaranteed to win the world title at Mania. And Jey Uso, it seemed like he became complacent. It seemed like he didn't care as much. It seemed like he lost the big picture of it. And he took criticism a lot from fans online the wrong way. And his wrestling matches weren't really that well. Because we know Jey can wrestle, but it just seemed like he got a little lazy on the road to WrestleMania. So I thought that was pretty cool to see. The rough storyline between Charlotte Flair and Tiffany Stratton that took forever to materialize until they finally cut that harsh promo against each other on SmackDown, where Tiffany Stratton went off the walls, off script, and went into Charlotte's life, talking about her several divorces that she's been through outside the ring, which was not supposed to happen. And once Tiffany said it, she basically hauled ass out of the ring. So it was pretty cool to see that Tiffany Stratton, Triple H basically forced Tiffany to owe Charlotte Flair an apology for it. I do like how the creative team changed Triple H's mind. Triple H did want CM Punk to go over in the main event of WrestleMania Night 1, but if he did go over, then it wouldn't make the moment feel special, and we wouldn't have got all the cinema scenes that we got where Paul Heyman turned on CM Punk, then turned on Roman Reigns, then Seth Rollins walked away as a Paul Heyman guy. I forgot the guy's name, but he pitched that idea, and I thought that was the best thing that they could have done, because that triple threat match was great, don't get me wrong, but what makes it stand out, and what's going to make that triple threat match stand the test of time, is that moment that Paul Heyman turned his back on his best friend and turned his back on his tribal chief, someone that he was dominant with in the company for 4 years, having one of the most lengthy world title runs in the company's history. So I thought that was pretty cool. Overall thoughts on the documentary? I'm 50-50 about the documentary. I think it was pretty cool and a pretty ballsy idea overall. If Vince McMahon was still in charge, obviously this documentary would have never been released, and you would have never seen anything of the light of day, and in his professional wrestling world, be released. The magical secrets and what happens behind stage of Gorilla, none of that stuff of the booking decisions, none of that stuff would have ever been out for the world to see. But this is 2025. Vince is no longer in charge. This is Triple H in charge now, and information gets leaked out online anyway. It's hard for wrestling fans to be surprised at times, because the dirt sheets and the wrestling community across social media leaks things before it even gets to the screen at times. So I do believe that it was cool for WWE wrestlers to come together. You see Triple H working with the WWE writers, the creative minds, and seeing how the big decisions in the calendar year 2025 came to fruition and basically blossom in front of our eyes. So it's been pretty cool to see something like that. I know it's renewed for 2026. So the Royal Rumble, the shocking win of Jey Uso, is good to see how they came to a decision on that based on how hot Jey Uso was. The crazy heel turn of John Cena turning heel at Elimination Chamber. The pitching idea of Seth Rollins actually going over, defeating CM Punk and Roman Reigns in the main event of WrestleMania Night 1, walking away with Paul Heyman and starting their new faction. Things like that. I think that's what made this Unreal documentary pretty special. And for people that say wrestling's fake, yeah, we know that. It's predetermined, but some of these spots, some of these bumps are real bumps. These wrestlers get hurt. Is it a movie that a lot of people like to watch? Basically predetermined, it's scripted. It's the same thing. If you guys are into that, then that's your thing. If you're not, then you can't really knock the product that is having the most success that they've ever had, getting these endorsement deals, working with Netflix, and making the highest gross gates that we've ever seen in professional wrestling. So overall, I think this is pretty cool. But then I get why people are split on it and are kind of shocked that the biggest secrets that take place in the creative mindsets and the biggest storylines, all that stuff is leaked. So again, I'm 50-50 on it for that standpoint, but I think overall it's pretty cool that we're seeing that nowadays in the modern era of professional wrestling. But those are my thoughts on the documentary. That's all the time I have for you guys today. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for listening. This is your host, Thomas Tyree, signing off. And I'll see you guys on next week's episode.